So, Florida man is sword related, believe it or not. At least I've found a number of stories where Florida men did things with swords, typically wallhanger katanas. If you happen to run into a wild Florida man with a sword, how will you emerge unscathed? Disclaimer, don't try this at home. It's meant in a hypothetical way for entertainment purposes. All right, don't get into a fight with Florida man and get cut open and then sue me. No, just chill. This is entertainment only. But there's a bit of information about historical martial arts in here that you're supposed to take just like that, not instructional. You can, of course, apply historical sword techniques, but the problem is, if you're not already familiar with them, then there's no point in me trying to explain, okay, you're gonna do that now. It needs to be simple and it needs to be low chance of messing things up. If you don't have a sword, if you have nothing, run. If you can't, I'm not even gonna show you anything because the likelihood of succeeding unarmed against somebody with a weapon is so low. If you're an MMA fighter, you know how to do a double leg takedown, try that, otherwise get the hell out of there. What is the likely attack? An untrained person, I'm gonna tell you what an untrained person is not going to do with a sword or machete. Pretty much this kind of cut, like a rising cut, pretty much guaranteed is not gonna do that. The same way as most likely they're not gonna do this. Backhand strikes. Most of the time you don't see them do it. They're gonna do this. Straight down or diagonal. Most likely straight down is the most natural that you see most people do. That may be not as common as this. The problem is, especially if you're untrained, it's really hard to tell if it comes down straight or like this. Even if you're trained, it can be difficult. So you need to do something that deals with both. If you have a stick, and we're going to pretend that this is not a warhammer, but just a stick. If he chops down, I just go. You get away from him, and you just boom. If you don't hit the hand, it's okay. If you hit the blade, fine, whatever. Just as long as you get away from it. So, if you dodge properly, you do it diagonally, like into it, and then you do that. But this is, again, not if you haven't practiced it already, at which point I don't have to tell you. Even if you don't hit the hand, you stop it. If it comes straight down, same thing. Go across at a distance where I can actually be hit. All right? As you can see, I'm also leaning back, which is biomechanically not ideal, but it just gives you a little bit of extra space. Because if it's like this, right, and I lean, I can evade it just by doing that. So if I do both, I'm safer. But of course, the more realistic situation is the attacker is rushing me, right? So, boom. And as I walk diagonally, or run rather, diagonally away, I'm getting a better angle. Because this is one thing. Like this can be messed up. If I'm over here and do the same thing, this was lighter, and did you see how much further the sword went? This is not hard for me because I have a much better angle here. If I'm being chased, that'll work nicely. Lest you say this is just a strength difference or whatever. Okay, I'm gonna do this outside of measure because I'm willing to risk my own face, but not that one. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1. Yep. It gets deflected downwards, so it's not actually blowing through. If it was just held statically, I could very well blow through. But because it's hitting, I can't actually force through. Basically, if you keep doing this, it's pretty good. In Polish saber fencing, cross-cutting. That's what they often do, because what happens here, if I just keep doing this, eventually I'm gonna get him probably. So the important thing is you want to focus on the arm. You don't really want to go for a deep target like the head or the chest. In order to hit him in the head, he can do the same. And I don't want that. Worst thing that can happen is if you mess it up, you get cut in the arm, which is obviously it's not good, but it's better than taking it in the head or the chest or the neck. The other option is, because most likely they're going to overswing. They're going to be like, ugh, you know? So you step back and then boom, come back. And again, that already takes a bit more skill, but if you just, okay, the simplest way to explain this is he comes in, you jump back, right? Boom. So this is assuming you have enough space to move around, but you can't run away because you know you can't run fast enough, or you have to protect somebody else who can't run, or anything like that. So you have to stand your ground, right? That's probably still gonna work because this doesn't take all that much, but let's assume, you know, I'm backed up against a wall or something and he just comes in. This is where the stick can be pretty useful, specifically the stick. So if you can't go anywhere and he just drops down like this. So what's most likely going to happen is the machete or sword's going to cut in. It's not going to go straight through unless you have a really flimsy stick, in which case don't do it. I mean, that can very well happen if your stick isn't solid enough. If you have like a lead pipe or whatever you have, if it's strong enough, big emphasis on that, then you can do this. But even then, you can do it in such a way that even if it were to cut through, it's not going to get you, right? So hands as far forward as possible, like this. Okay, so what's going to happen now, most likely, is it'll cut in, so there's going to be a bind. So now you can wrench that sucker. Guess what happens if you mess it up? Crunch. If you also have a sword, same thing, right? Just boom. Or just get out of here. You can move straight to the side. You can catch it like this. In fact, you can even, with a single-handed sword, you can even brace your wrist with your hand. So it comes in like this, right? Because even if it collapses, you're still covered here. And if you got it here, you can sort of angle it so that if it comes diagonally, you're still good. But the risk is, if the angle's a little bit too steep, you might just take it in the side. So I don't like this. Yeah. If you just go almost horizontal, basically. I try to catch it here. Again, it's unlikely that they're going to do a horizontal, but it's possible. If you see it in time, you can still catch it. You can even brace it against the forearm, but I already don't like this. This already takes too much skill, which you can easily screw up if you're full of adrenaline and everything. So you might not want to do it. I would just say, just boom, like just hit that hand, get out of there if you can. If you can't, then you're just gonna have to, in some kind of way, block it, maybe even move in, right, like this, and now you can grapple with him, but this is already too complicated.
You see this, right? He's coming for you with the katana.
Yeah, that could be. Again, same thing, just step back and smack it, right? So just hold it here, so you can, like, even if you get it wrong, either you hit the blade or you don't, but either way you get out of there, right? So just similar to the baseball bat stuff I showed recently, you can do the same thing. Boom, right? Same thing. You can do that with a stick, you can do it with a sword. Same kind of thing, but it's riskier because you're staying put, which I would prefer to just get out and target the arm. Again, this is basically just me nerding out about a hypothetical scenario, but I hope you found it interesting and entertaining anyway. If you feel like supporting my channel, you can binge watch my other videos, of which there are plenty, or even consider joining my Patreon for bonus content and an exclusive Discord server where you can chat with like-minded folks, ask me questions, get announcements for live streams, etc. The support is greatly appreciated because YouTube ad revenue has been in the toilet lately and it's starting to get difficult to cover the costs involved in running this channel. Anyway, stay safe and have a good one, folks.